3 a.m. The shocking truth. How the universe really delivers what you deserve. The clock struck 3. A chilling hour when shadows grew long, and the line between reality and the unknown blurred. A man named Jake sat alone in his dimly lit living room, his heart pounding as if it could shatter the deafening silence. Weird things seemed to happen at this hour. Whispers floated on the cold air, and objects shifted ever so slightly, as though the universe was playing a cruel trick on him. Just last week, he'd found his phone inexplicably changed to a different language. How could it be? He never touched the settings. It was as if some unseen force toyed with him, bending reality to its will. With the eerie glow of the streetlights sneaking through the curtains, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there watching him, waiting for him to make the first move. A creeping dread settled in his stomach like a heavy stone. Was it paranoia or something more? The window rattled, and he jumped. Just outside, a black cat perched on the fence, its eyes glowing like tiny emeralds, watching him intently, as if it knew secrets he would never grasp. His best friend, Mark, once told him stories of how the universe delivered what you deserved. Jake had always chuckled off those tales, but now he wondered if there was some twisted truth in them. What if his actions, his choices were to blame for the bizarre happenings? Was he truly in charge of his fate? Or was he just a pawn in a much larger game? Before we continue, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jake's thoughts spiraled. What if tonight was the night everything changed? The air grew heavy, thick with anticipation. A loud thud echoed from the kitchen, snapping him out of his reverie. Heart racing, he stood up, his hands clammy and shaking. As he tiptoed toward the sound, a deep breath caught in his throat. What awaited him in the dark? Was it a sign, or just a trick of the mind? With each step, dread clawed at him, increasing the weight on his chest. He reached for the handle, hand trembling. Would the truth spill out like a glass shattered on the floor, or would it consume him whole? He pushed the door open. The door creaked ominously as it swung open, revealing a kitchen cloaked in darkness. For a heartbeat, Jake stood frozen, his breath hitching in his throat. The shadows danced like fleeting whispers, hiding the truth and amplifying his fear. He squinted into the void, seeking any sign of what lay ahead. A second thud reverberated, louder this time, and Jake winced. Could it be a rat? Or something worse? The thought wrapped around his mind like a vice. He flicked on the light, and the harsh glow illuminated the space, exposing the mess. Cans lay scattered across the floor, their contents spilled like secrets best left unspoken. His pulse quickened as he stepped inside, surveying the chaos. What could have caused this? Panic twisted his gut as he searched for answers. Was it the universe finally delivering a message he couldn't ignore? Then he saw a scrap of paper crumpled on the counter. With a racing heart, Jake hurried over, snatching it up. Written in jagged handwriting, the note read, "It's time to face what you've avoided. The universe is watching." The words dripped with an eerie finality, sending chills racing down his spine. What did it mean? Face what you've avoided? The phrase echoed, bouncing around his thoughts like a frightened bird. Jake stumbled back, his mind reeling. Had he been avoiding something significant in his life? Just as he grasped for clarity, the lights flickered and went out. Darkness enveloped him like a suffocating shroud, and he cursed under his breath. Gripping the counter for support, he felt the cold, smooth surface beneath his fingertips, grounding him but only just. The chill in the air intensified. He could sense it now. Something, or someone, was near. He wasn't alone. Goosebumps pricked up his arms, and he strained to hear any sound over the heavy silence. A soft whisper, barely audible, drifted through the kitchen. Jake, his name slid into the darkness, melting into the shadows around him. "Who is there?" he called out, his voice trembling. The room felt like it was closing in, pressing against his chest. No more pretending. The hushed voice responded, laced with a strange mix of sadness and urgency. The words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Jake squinted into the murky corners of the kitchen, trying to pierce through the oppressive blackness. Moments ticked away, each silent second stretching into eternity. Suddenly, the refrigerator door swung open on its own, the light illuminating a figure standing just beyond the threshold. A fleeting shadow, blurred but unmistakable. Was it a friend or something sinister? He stumbled backward, fear twisting in his stomach. He didn't know who or what it was, but he had to find out. "Show yourself," Jake demanded, his voice breaking as desperation clawed at him. But the figure melted back into the darkness, and the whisper returned, more insistent this time. "You need to uncover the truth before it's too late." Then, without warning, the temperature plummeted, and Jake's breath materialized in the air before him, ghostly and fog-like. It felt like the universe itself was closing in, urging him to make a choice. What truth? Sweat trickled down his back as he wrestled with his racing thoughts. A choice hung in the balance. Was he ready to confront what awaited him? Before he could think twice, the whispers grew louder, overlapping like a crowded room. "Jake, the truth." As the darkness pulsed and the shadows thickened, he felt the weight of a great decision pressing on him. Then, just as it started, everything went silent. An eerie calm washed over him, leaving a chilling sensation in its wake. A door creaked in the distance. What lay beyond could change his life or end it. And then it hit him. Maybe the universe was waiting for him to make the first move. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. What would he discover when he stepped deeper into the unknown? He could almost hear the universe breathe with him, urging him onward. What secrets lay hidden, just waiting to be awakened? The stillness shattered like glass, sending a jolt straight through Jake. He clutched the counter, knuckles white, as the creaking intensified, a slow, deliberate rhythm echoing in the oppressive silence. Every crack of the wood seemed to carry an ancient warning, amplifying his dread. With forced determination, he edged toward the source of the sound. Tracking the noise, he reached the door at the far end of the kitchen. A dim glow flickered underneath it, teasing him like a flame just out of reach. What lay beyond? The gnawing suspicion that he was stepping into something far darker than he understood clung to his thoughts. "Do it," he whispered to himself, but his voice trembled. The note slipped from his fingers, forgotten. He needed to know. Jake turned the knob slowly. Each click felt like thunder in the quiet. The door swung open, revealing a narrow staircase disappearing into shadows deeper than any night he had known. Something was down there, something eerie and alive, waiting. He paused, swallowing hard. Could this be what he avoided all along? A confrontation he had buried beneath layers of denial and distraction? The whisper returned, echoing from the depths. "Face it, Jake, don't run away." Heart racing, he stepped onto the first creaky step. It groaned beneath his weight, protesting his intrusion. Each step down felt like a descent into his own mind, the air thick with an unsettling stillness. Goosebumps lined his arms as he navigated the pitch-black passageway. He reached for his phone, illuminating the way with a shaky beam of light. The darkness swirled around him, creeping up his legs and wrapping around his chest like a vice. He fought against it as he continued, each step feeling heavier than the last. "Just a little further," he whispered, but doubt flooded his thoughts like a dark tide. What if he found something he wasn't prepared to face? At last, he reached the bottom of the stairs, breathing heavily. The beam illuminated a small room, cluttered with objects that looked like they hadn't seen the light of day for years. Boxes lined the walls, their contents spilling over old photographs, dust-covered trinkets. And then he saw a mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. It was cracked, the glass reflecting fractured pieces of himself back at him. Jake approached it, drawn in despite the unsettling aura hanging in the AIR.AS. He gazed into the fragments of his own reflection. The whisper returned now, infused with urgency. "See yourself, truly." Panic surged through him as memories, long buried, flooded his mind. Images of old failures, regrets, and choices he wished he could take back swirled in a chaotic mess. The mirror seemed to pulse, alive, resonating with his trapped emotions. "Look," the voice insisted, more insistent now. "You're not the man you pretend to be." Jake squeezed his eyes shut, but it didn't help. The truth clawed at him from all angles. It was there, lurking in the corners of his mind, rearing its head mercilessly. With a deep breath, he finally opened his eyes. The cracks in the mirror shimmered ominously, and for the first time, he encountered the pain he wanted to see, the heartache of his decisions, the missed connections with loved ones, the fear of truly being known. Suddenly, the mirror splintered yet further, and Jake gasped as a voice erupted above him, a shriek, a howl filled with unearthly anguish. And just like that, everything around him shifted. The walls pulsed, and the air thickened, pulling him into a vortex of forgotten memories and unresolved conflicts. "Jake, run!" a voice cried from behind him, but he couldn't bring himself to move. This was the moment he was ready. Whatever it was, he had to face it. But just as the cacophony reached a fever pitch, the lights flickered on, revealing the room in stark clarity. He spun around, heart pounding wildly. Where was the voice coming from? And then he saw it, a shadow from the stairwell, looming larger as it emerged into view, that he was not alone. "Help me!" the figure cried, their features unrecognizable, overshadowed by fear. Jake's heart sank. Whatever awaited him next, he knew now it was a test of his courage. What horrifying truth had he just unearthed? Was the universe preparing him for something much darker? The enormity of it all threatened to swallow him whole. And just as he felt that truth twist around his soul, the figure reached for him, hand outstretched, and everything went dark. Jake's eyes fluttered open, but he was met with darkness again, thick, suffocating blackness. Panic clawed at his throat, rapid breaths echoing softly against the void. He strained to listen, processing the scattered remnants of the frantic moment before. The figure, the plea for help. "Hello?" His voice broke the silence, heavy and uncertain. Was he still in the room? Or had he been plunged into another realm, an abyss of his own making? The weight of his heart thudded in his chest as he tried to pinpoint where he was. The air felt damp, almost cold, sending shivers racing down his spine. Slowly, he pushed himself off the floor, instinctively reaching around the space for a wall or something familiar to guide him. "Get a grip, Jake," he muttered to himself. "You can't lose it now." He took a deep breath and forced himself to stand. The delicate shuffling of his feet on a gritty surface was the only sound, and it reverberated against the walls, amplifying his sense of isolation. Determined, he pulled his phone from his pocket. The weak glow illuminated jagged edges of shadows, revealing debris scattered across the floor, pieces of shattered glass, maybe remnants of the mirror that had just moments ago sparked his confrontation with himself. "Where did?" The whisper came back, this time stronger, sharper. "Face it, Jake." A chill shot up his spine. He turned, the beam of light sweeping through the darkness, searching for something, anything, though it felt futile. Suddenly, he noticed movement. In the edge of his vision, a shape loomed, darting just out of reach. Eyes wide, Jake redirected the phone's light, but the shadowed figure melted into the corners like smoke, leaving him with an unbearable tension hanging in the air. "Show yourself," he shouted, anger creeping into his voice. "What do you want from me?" But the only response was the echo of his own voice fading away. Was this a game? His thoughts spiraled. He had plunged into chaos, and he needed answers. Were those memories and painful truths really worth confronting? Before he could spiral too far into despair, a polished glint caught his eye, gleaming faintly from beneath a pile of tattered papers. Cautiously, he moved closer, bending to brush the debris aside. It revealed a small, intricately decorated box, unlike anything he had seen before, beautifully old, adorned with swirling motifs. It felt strangely out of place in the grim environment he found himself in. As he lifted the box, energy crackled around him, filling the stagnant air with electricity. His heart raced as he felt it grow heavier in his hands, pulling him toward a sense of urgency. "Open it," the whisper urged, more insistent than ever. With trembling hands, Jake fumbled with the hinges. As the lid creaked open, a cool wind surged through the space, blowing dark memories away and filling the room with an unearthly glow. "Why now?" Jake breathed, visions flooding back of choices not made, paths not taken. Faces flickered before him, their expressions blending between disappointment and anguish. The weight of his past loomed larger than ever, and the questions pounded at his mind. Was he ready to face the truth? Just as the glow reached its peak, blinding him, he jolted back, feeling a strange hand grasping at his arm. "Jake!" The voice was frantic, but familiar. We need to go now? Jake's eyes flew wide open again, stunned by the sudden grip. He turned to see the figure from before, now tangible and desperate, their face illuminated by the glimmer. This isn't over, Jake whispered, staring deep into their pleading eyes. What have you done? They gasped, breathless with terror. There was a choke in the air, and an overwhelming sense of foreboding enveloped him. They were far from safe. As they moved towards the doorway, whispers swirled around them. Something dark was still very much alive, and whatever it was about to consume them both. What was hidden within that box, and would they be strong enough to confront it? Jake felt the grip on his arm tighten as they backed toward the doorway, the whispers crescendoing into a cacophony of haunting voices. They weren't just echoes, they were fragments of his past, piercing through the thin veil of darkness that cloaked the room. He could almost make out the names, intertwining with guilt and regret. Who are you? He demanded, snapping back to the present moment. The urgency in his voice startled the figure beside him. It doesn't matter right now. We have to move. The figure's eyes darted around the room, scanning for the unseen threat that lurked in the shadows. Why? What is going on? Panic tightened Jake's throat, but he took a step back, reaching for the woman's arm. Light from his phone flickered weakly. The moment hung between them, fraught with tension. You opened a door you shouldn't have, she replied, her breath quickening. That box, it draws them closer. We can't stay here. Jake squinted into the dark corners of the room. Squirming shadows crept nearer, drawn by the luminescent glow of the box now lying half open on the floor. He felt the air grow thicker, as if something tangible was weaving through the darkness. Close it, Jake shouted, his heart racing. The woman hesitated, and fear twisted in Jake's gut. You said I opened it, can't I just shut it? No. Once it's opened, it can't be unsealed just like that. Her voice cracked under the weight of something unspoken. We need to run. Now. Before he could protest, she yanked him toward the doorway. He stumbled, glancing back at the box, which pulsed with energy, flickering brightly, and then dimming like a dying star. It was calling him, whispering all the things he buried deep. What truths does it hold? He thought. Am I ready for that? Just as they reached the door, a chilling gust swept through the room, extinguishing his phone's light. Darkness clawed back with a vengeance, curling around them like living tendrils. The woman's grip tightened as she yanked him through the opening, the world outside dissolving into blurs of shadows and moonlight. Where do we go? He managed to ask, the echo of his voice swallowed by the night. Away. She snapped back. I don't know how long we have until it finds us. They raced down a narrow corridor, the walls seeming to pulse as if the structure itself was alive. Jake could hear the whispers gaining strength behind them, thickening like fog. Desperate images flashed through his mind, faces twisted in fear, moments of regret replaying endlessly. With each step, he could feel the weight of their judgment, reminding him of failures he thought he'd left behind. The woman darted to a door at the end of the hallway, yanking it open just as a whisper echoed. Come back to us, shut it. Jake shouted, reaching out as the door swung wide. The darkness beckoned, a sinister reminder of something they narrowly escaped. As they stepped inside, the air shifted. Jake felt the atmosphere change, solidifying into a different reality, where the light flickered dimly but steady, offering a false sense of security. Are we safe? He asked, panting. Not yet, she replied, her eyes scanning the shadows outside the door. They'll follow, especially now that you've awakened them. His heart raced faster. What have I done? Your truth, she said, a chill spreading in her voice. They thrive on it. It's the key that unlocks their door. Jake felt a tremor in his core. What if hidden truths weren't just lies waiting to be unearthed? What if they were weapons? Suddenly, the lights flickered violently. A chilling howl raced through the air, pressing against them. Jake took a step back, adrenaline flooding his veins. What do we do? Face it. Whatever it is, we confront it together. The floor trembled, the whispers morphing into screams. He had no idea what awaited them, but felt the shadows encroaching, ready to strike. And in that moment of reckoning, Jake realized he couldn't run. Not anymore. The question hung heavy in the air: would they survive the truth, or would it consume them both? He turned to her, but the answer lay just beyond the door. The moment the door closed behind them, the chaos outside dimmed, swirling into a distant echo. Jake leaned against the cool wall, his breaths coming in short gasps. The room was small, barely more than a closet, with a single bulb flickering overhead. Shadows danced on the walls, taunting him with the abyss just beyond the door. "What now?" he asked, his voice lower, quivering with uncertainty. "Now we wait," she replied, her demeanor shifting. She was no longer frantic, but her eyes were wide and terrified. "We need to gather our strength." "Gather our what?" "They're right outside." Panic seeped back into Jake's voice. The noise from beyond the door surged, rising like a storm. Voices mingled, some familiar, some foreign, all laced with an urgency that sent chills crawling down his spine. She peered at him intensely. "The more fearful you become, the stronger they grow. Your truth has become their weapon, and it feeds on your fear." "What truth?" he blurted, frustration boiling within. "All I wanted was to forget." "Exactly," she said, her tone dropping to a whisper, "and that's what they're after. Every buried memory, every scar that you think is healed, they're using it against you." The light flickered again, casting elongated shadows that twisted like creeping vines. Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he took a hesitant step back. "You think I can just face it? Just like that? You can't run from it any longer. You hold the key to your freedom." Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the tremor in her fingers, the way they curled around the door handle like a lifeline. "And what if it destroys me?" His voice cracked, the weight of his own failures crashing down like an avalanche. "What if it destroys us? Then we die with courage," she said softly. "We don't let them win." There was a resolve in her eyes, a fire he wanted to ignite within himself. The door shook violently, a pulse that matched the beat of his heart. The whispers surged again, a wave of sound that became a shriek, a cacophony of guilt and regret that threatened to pull him under. He pressed his palms against his ears, trying to shut it all out, but there was nowhere to hide. With a sudden surge of courage, he moved closer to her. "If I do this, if we confront them, will it really end? Can we finally be free?" Her gaze softened, a mix of hope and fear reflected in her dark eyes. "I believe we can. But it starts now." He nodded, feeling a determination weave through the fear coiling in his gut. The shadows at the door pulsed like a heartbeat, hungry and restless. He stepped forward, zipping the distance between fear and action. "Together?" he asked, barely audible. "Together," she affirmed. Jake took a deep breath, and they turned toward the quaking door, the sound of 100 voices pounding against it. The moment lagged, hanging in the air thick with tension, and then they both gripped the handle. The door held the promise of revelations, of truths sharper than blades, but also a flicker of hope that had sparked between them. As they yanked it open, the chaos beyond poured in like a riptide, overwhelming and consuming. Would they be washed away or stand their ground? The answers lay in the darkness, and together they stepped into the storm. "Face what comes next," she urged, bracing herself against the gale of sound. And as the cacophony roared and the light dimmed, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this would change everything. The shadows called, but so did the light. What would it reveal? The moment they stepped through the door, the world around them exploded into chaos. Sounds pierced the air, screams, laughter, cries of despair, all merging into a thunderous symphony. Jake shielded his eyes against a blinding light that crashed down like an avalanche, pushing him and her farther into the whirlwind of voices. "Stick close," she shouted over the din, her voice barely cutting through the incessant noise. He could see her silhouette twisting and turning in the uproar, but her determination shone like a beacon. Jake's heart raced. Each voice felt personal, as if they were his own guilt materializing into physical form. A childhood friend's laughter morphed into a mocking taunt, and the sound of his father's angry voice sent an icy shudder across his skin. He staggered, the weight of his past pressing heavily against his chest. "Where do we go?" he shouted back, feeling lost amidst the cacophony. "Follow me," she responded, her eyes locked onto something in the distance, a flicker of truth amidst the emotional storm. He gripped her hand, hoping she could lead him to safety. Together, they plunged into the swirling mess, where the shards of his shattered memories lay scattered across the tumult. The shadows morphed around them, inching closer. They twisted into familiar forms, people's faces flickering like old film reels, moments etched with regret. As they moved deeper, He caught glimpses of choices he wished he'd made. Those very decisions like ghosts beckoning him to recall, to confront, to feel. With a surge of determination, Jake called out, "We don't have to do this alone. We have to face them." Her head turned sharply, eyes wide, as if she discovered a hidden strength brewing within him. "Yes, let us take them one by one." She squeezed his hand, her warmth offering a thread of safety amidst the chaos. And then, the first shade materialized in front of them. It was a figure cloaked in darkness, familiar yet unnervingly distorted. The tension mounted as the being stepped closer, its eyes bore into Jake's with an almost insatiable hunger. "Why did you run?" It whispered, the voice slithering through his mind like ice. "Did you think you could escape your reality?" Jake faltered, doubt creeping in like a thief in the night. "I thought." The figure snickered, its laughter echoing, making the air around them thick with dread. "Thoughts mean nothing without action, boy. You think you can revisit a memory and rewrite history?" "No," he shouted, finding his footing. "But I can confront it and claim my strength." The shadowed figure recoiled slightly, surprise flickering in its dark gaze. "Strength? You think you're strong enough to unravel the truth?" "Watch me," he replied, conviction flooding his veins. This wasn't just about him. It was about breaking free. He needed to confront every fear, every whisper of past regret that had kept him shackled to the ground. The figure lunged, but Jake met the darkness head-on, feeling the terrifying weight of his fears begin to dissolve. As it vanished into a cloud of black mist, Jake felt the tension release slightly. He turned to her, eyes burning with determination. "Let us keep going. We have more to face." Together, they plunged ahead into the terrifying unknown. One shadow down, but countless still loomed, each a fragment of his past ready to confront him. He could feel their energy swirling, seeking to push him back, a seductive call to submit to the fear. But deep down, a new voice rose inside him, a whisper of hope, louder than anything he'd faced yet. "Stand tall, they can't take you as long as you remember who you are." Before they could catch their breath, another shadow loomed, this one larger, twisting in the form of their deepest secret. It beckoned them with blazing eyes. "Are you truly prepared for the truth?" It growled, the challenge heavy in the air. Jake exchanged a determined look with her. "We are ready." And as the figure rushed toward them, the storm hit a new intensity. The ground trembled beneath. Jake wasn't just confronting his shadows anymore. He was awakening something he thought he'd lost forever. But would the truth set them free, or confine them forever? The ground shook violently beneath their feet as the dark figure charged, arms outstretched like a predator closing in on its prey. Jake's heart thundered, each pulse echoing the questions left unanswered. Would he really be able to face this new terror? He gazed at her, the fire in her eyes sparking confidence inside him. "Stand firm," he yelled, his voice slicing through the chaos. Together they braced for impact, the air thick with palpable tension. The looming shadow halted just inches away, a wide grin stretching across its twisted face. "So brave, so foolish," it hissed. The sound buzzed in Jake's ears, wrapping around him like a vice. Memories flickered, shadows of the past swirling around them, mingling with the present. "Jake!" she cried, pulling him back. The figure's presence was overwhelming, a suffocating haze enveloping them. "We can't let it get into our heads." With newfound determination, Jake closed his eyes. He focused on the steady beat of his heart, remembering the warmth of her hand in his. They had overcome one shadow. They were strong enough to face this one too. "We've got to stick together," he shouted, trying to drown out the whispers of the figure that slithered through his thoughts. "Do you truly believe that?" The shadow sneered, its voice an echo of every doubt he had ever faced. "You're in over your head. You were always meant to fail." "No, you're wrong." Jake spat back, opening his eyes wide. "I won't let you take control." The words felt like a shield, empowering him against the darkness. The shadow recoiled, its grin faltering. "What makes you think you can fight me? You barely confronted the last one." "Because I'm not fighting alone." Jake's shout rang out like thunder. He felt her presence surge beside him, a fusion of strength and determination that pushed against the shadow's suffocating grip. In that moment, the swirling chaos slowed, the cacophony transforming into a sharp clarity. Jake turned to her, urgency blazing in his chest. We need to combine our memories, our strengths. Together. She nodded fiercely, eyes sparkling as they began to breathe in unison. Jake recalled the laughter of friends, the warmth of family, and the small moments that brought him joy. He could feel her memories intertwining with his own, a shared tapestry of strength against the despair threatening to consume them. The dark figure shifted nervously, sensing a change in the air. "What are you doing?" It roared, fury vibrating through its distorted form. "You think memories can save you?" "Yes, they can," he shouted, feeling the connection pulse between them. The combined energy intensified, pushing back against the shadow's nefarious grasp. Jake clasped her hand tighter, the warmth spreading through him like fire. "Together," he urged, and with one final surge, they opened their hearts, bridging the chasm of darkness with the light of their shared experiences. The figure screamed, its form flickering as the joyous memories erupted like fireworks around them, illuminating the space with brilliant color. The shadows screeched louder, twisting and swirling in a frenzy, unable to withstand their collective strength. As the shadows began to dissolve, Jake felt a lightness seep into him, filling the void left by fear. But even as one darkness evaporated, he sensed another lurking just beyond the horizon, an even larger truth, waiting to be unearthed. "What now?" she breathed, eyes wide, excitement tinged with apprehension. "Now we chase down the truth," Jake replied, ready to plunge deeper into the fray. They had faced shadows, but the true battle lay ahead, filled with revelations that could change everything. But as they pressed onward through the dissipating fog, a chilling whisper echoed through the air. "You think the truth is what you seek?" It taunted, sending shivers down their spines. "There's much more than you can handle." Jake steeled himself, fear creeping in. What lay ahead could either be freedom or the nightmare that haunted him for years. Would they be prepared to confront the darkest corners of reality? The thick fog of shadows gave way to a stark landscape, the world around them transforming into a surreal battlefield. The ground was littered with remnants of the past, broken dreams, and forgotten promises cluttering the terrain like shards of glass. Each step felt weighted, a reminder of the battles fought and the ones yet to come. As they walked, Jake and her exchanged wary glances, the air crackling with tension. "What do you think it meant?" she asked, concern etching lines across her brow. "What truth?" "I don't know." Jake's voice was heavy, uncertainty clawing at the edges of his mind. "But it felt like it knew something we didn't. The shadows," she said, her eyes darting around nervously. "They've haunted us for so long. This can't be it. It must want us to fall further." Jake clenched his fists, determination wrestling with dread. "We can't let it do that. Not again." He took a deep breath, pushing against the weight of memories that threatened to drown him. "We've come too far." Suddenly, the darkness coalesced again, morphing into a figure, its shape wavering in and out of focus. "You really believe you can escape your own past?" it hissed, voice slithering through the air. "Run all you want, Jake. You'll always be shackled to your failures." "Shackled?" he echoed, anger igniting within him. "I'm not that person anymore." "Are you certain?" The figure flicked its fingers, and memories began to unfold around them like a cruel stage, a montage of moments fraught with pain, guilt, and despair. Jake felt his heart quicken, an icy grip wrapping around his chest. Scenes replayed, lost friendships over stupid arguments, heartbreak that split him in two, the weight of expectations crushing him. Each flicker cast a shadow over his spirit, whispering doubts he thought were long buried. "Jake!" she cried, reaching out for him, grounding him in the chaos. Her touch ignited a spark in his chest. "Focus on us. We're not alone." He breathed deeply, recalling the warmth of shared laughter, the light of hope that had flourished between them. The darkness clawed at him, hissing threats, but he could feel her presence, steady and unwavering. "You're right. We choose what defines us, not our past." With renewed fervor, they raised their hands together, pooling their strength. The murky memories surged against them, a tide threatening to pull them under. "Let us push back," Jake shouted, channeling every ounce of resolve into the air around them. Bright sunlight erupted, gold and orange bursting through the clouds of despair, illuminating the battlefield and washing over the oppressive shadows. The figure writhed and contorted, snarling. This isn't over. You can't escape what you are. But as the brightness consumed him, Jake felt the weight of his past beginnings to lift. He stood firm against the shadow's fury. You don't owe me anymore. It was a declaration, both freeing and terrifying. With each wave of light, memories that once bound him like chains now floated away, dissipating into nothingness. The shadows screeched, their cries of defeat escalating into a chorus of anger. What is happening? She gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. I think we're breaking free. Jake felt a rush of exhilaration surge through him. But then, as the glow intensified, darkness beyond them began to gather, swirling ominously. What is that? She whispered, fear creeping back into their sanctuary of warmth. That feels different. Darker, Jake replied, dread creeping into his heart. Shadows taller than them loomed from the horizon, deeper and more sinister, a storm gathering like the quiet before the crash of a wave. As they prepared to face whatever terror waited ahead, a voice echoed from the shadows, smirk laced in its tone. You think you've won? This is just the beginning. Then, the world around them began to shatter, sending them spiraling into an abyss of unknown depth. Hold on, Jake shouted, gripping her hand even tighter. They were falling, but whatever this next truth was, they would face it together unraveled but unbroken. What lay below? Would it bring them closer to freedom, or sink them into a new nightmare? It felt like falling through eternity. The world around Jake and the woman dissolved into a cascade of colors as they plummeted through darkness, a swirling abyss that threatened to swallow them whole. Tension gripped Jake's chest, but he held onto her hand, their fingers intertwining with a force of unyielding resolve. I want to let go, he vowed, his voice echoing in the void, determination burning like a fire in his gut. The darkness squeezed around them, but each heartbeat pulsed with the promise of truth, every breath a declaration of courage. And then, just as suddenly as they had begun to fall, the ground solidified beneath them, the air shimmering with a faint light. Jake and the woman landed with a soft thud, blinking against the brightness that surrounded them, now a stark contrast to the shadows they'd just escaped. Ahead lay an open space, beautiful and serene, bathed in a warm, golden glow. Trees swayed gently, their leaves whispering secrets in the wind. Laughter rang in the distance, a joyful sound that touched Jake's heart. What is this place? She wondered, looking around in awe. Hope ignited within her eyes, lighting her face. Jake felt an uneasy twist in his gut. I don't know, but something tells me it's not just a pretty picture. He stepped forward, led by an instinct he couldn't quite place. Each step resonated with an energy that pulsed through the ground, drawing him closer to a large, ornate archway at the far end of the clearing. As they approached, memories began to swirl before them, visions of the lives they'd led, both the beautiful and the painful. The silhouettes of former friends flickered in and out of existence. Laughter mingled with cries of regret. In each passing memory, Jake saw himself dancing at a wedding, comforting a family member during difficult times, faces full of joy that twisted into anguish as if calling out for acknowledgement. Face what you've avoided, the whispers returned, now more haunting than ever. But there was a different resonance to them, a note of understanding, a reminder of the journey they'd taken. Jake. The woman squeezed his hand, grounding him. This is where it all leads. We have to confront it, everything we've hidden. He nodded, feeling the weight of her words. It wasn't just about battling the darkest corners of his past. It was about embracing it all, the love, the pain, every moment that had shaped him into the person he was meant to be. Together, they stepped through the archway. The scene melted around them, transforming into a vast expanse filled with people, everyone Jake had ever loved, lost, or abandoned. Each face mirrored his emotions, some filled with harsh judgment, others with unconditional support. The air buzzed with intensity, the raw energy of his past laid bare before him. Why did you run? An old voice cut through, a whisper made of disappointment. Jake felt his throat tighten. I tried to escape what I thought I couldn't face. You can't run from your truth. A kind face chimed in, its warmth radiating through the chaos. You embody those experiences. They've forged you. Jake glanced at the woman beside him. She nodded softly, her eyes filled with encouragement. This is the moment, Jake. You have the strength to embrace it. As the brightness around him intensified, Jake stepped forward, heart racing. I accept it all. The joy, the sorrow, the mistakes. They make me who I am. Each confession shattered the weight of the lingering shadows. With every acknowledgement, a piece of him felt lighter, more whole. I'm sorry, he choked out, memories flooding his mind. I'm sorry for the times I wasn't there. For the words left unsaid. For the hurt I caused. The shadows of disapproval began to dissolve into the light. Faces softened as if releasing the grip of pain that had held them bound for so long. A wave of relief surged through him, sweeping away the darkness once and for all. In that moment, he understood. His past wasn't a heavy burden, but rather a map leading him to growth. The universe truly had been keeping score, reminding him that the power of witness and honesty allowed healing. With a radiant burst of energy, the clearing illuminated with pure light, weaving through them like threads of silk, binding them together in recognition and acceptance. We did it, the woman exclaimed, her smile wide as she grabbed his hand. The sense of freedom enveloped them, warm and liberating. Not quite, Jake replied, his voice steady. The journey is just beginning. Some shadows still lurked in the corners of this new realm, potent but no longer terrifying. They could embrace them, face them head-on. Together as they looked around, the archway shimmered behind them. It didn't need to close, for they were not escaping anymore. They were moving forward, reminding each other that the universe didn't deliver punishment, only lessons. Hand in hand, Jake and the woman stepped beyond the clearing, ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing intimately that every truth they faced would only draw them closer to the people they were destined to become. Let us go, he said, and with that, they ventured forth into certainty, and the light grew brighter as they walked, illuminating everything ahead. If this journey has touched you, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss our next exclusive stories that are waiting to unfold. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. And hey, I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Jake's journey and what it all means. Don't wait even one more second to share this incredible conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Let us keep these adventures coming together.